My name is Kim Schaefer. I have been at Community Bike Works for 11 years, and next week marks my 10th year as Executive Director of Community Bike Works. Our mission is to teach life lessons through bicycles to the young people across the Lehigh Valley who could benefit most. So we really do use bicycles as a hook to get kids engaged in our range of mentoring programs. And, we are now, so I've been here 10 years. The organization has been around since 1995. And in those 28 plus years, we have grown a lot. And so I'm thrilled today to fill you in some of our core programs that have been around for quite a while, tell you about a couple of our new programs. And I do have one exciting announcement that will go public in the next few days that I wanted to share with all of you today. The only other thing that I'll say before we get started is that I was hoping to have one of our youth apprentices, Edwin, here with us today. He had to take a test for summer school, so we did not want to interrupt his concentration or his important work. But I do have a word or two from him that I'll share at the end. As we get started, I'll just ask: are people generally familiar with Community Bike Works? Okay.
Not at all.
Oh, excellent. All right, excellent. Well, I will try as best I can to cover the basics then. And I was talking with Carrie and Michael ahead of time. I think we're a small enough group that if you have questions, just feel free to, either put them in the chat or pop, unmute yourself and ask a question as we go if you have something that's burning. And I know we'll have time for questions at the end as well. Okay, just bear with me for one moment and I will share my screen. I should ask, is there anything before we get started that people have questions or comments on? Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And that's Adonis. He's our program manager of our Madison Street bike shops. So we have 3 bike shops that we'll go through all of those. But Adonis has been with us for about 6 or 7 years now, and he's just really fantastic, both at bike maintenance and engaging students. Okay. Oops, why is that not working? Okay. As I mentioned, Community Bike Works teaches life lessons through bicycles. We have our core programs, and then we have, and those include Earn a Bike and Junior Earn a Bike. So we call those our bike mentoring programs, where students really do get mentored through their work with bicycles. We have cycling programs. We have our non-bike mentoring programs, including drop-in and one-on-one mentoring. And then we have several youth leadership programs. So those are the things that we will talk about today. And we also, within the past year, it was actually 1 year on June 1st, we also now run a food pantry for our neighbors in the east side of Allentown that's co-located with our East Allentown bike shop that's in Keck Park. And I'm excited to tell you about the successes and challenges we've had running a food pantry for the last year. So that's an overview of what we're going to look at today. Okay. There's a student learning, I think, about hubs in his Earn a Bike class. This is actually an Easton area middle school. All right, so youth bike mentoring is, as I said, the term that we use to kind of describe our core programs that include Earn a Bike and Junior Earn a Bike. In Earn a Bike, and again, this is the program that we started with back in 1995, students come into one of our bike shops or in the schools. They pick out a bike that they want to work on. So we have hundreds and hundreds of bikes that community members such as yourselves have donated to us. And as we'll talk about more, we take any bike in any condition. Students pick a bike that they want to work on, and then they spend an entire month, so 12 classes, 24 hours with mentors, learning the parts of a bike, the tools you use to work on a bike, how to fix every system on the bike, and how to ride that bike safely. So at the end of their Earn a Bike class, they really have, refurbished a bicycle for themselves with their teammates and adult mentors. And then they get to, as the name implies, they earn that bicycle. It's theirs to take home. So they get their refurbished bicycle and a brand new helmet. We are one of there are other Earn a Bike programs across the country. We are all independent. There's no umbrella organization for us. We are one of the largest, to my knowledge, Earn a Bike youth bike programs in the country. I just got back from Boston last week and visited with our counterparts in Boston. They engage about 200 students a year in their Earn a Bike program. They call it Bike School. And so, I think that really speaks to the level of commitment and support that we have from folks around the Lehigh Valley. That we are able to engage with 600 young people a year, and we do that at our 3 bike shops. So we have a Franklin Park, Allentown bike shop. As Michael said, we're just off of 13th and Chew Streets, across from Franklin Park. We have an East Allentown bike shop. That bike shop is actually located in Keck Park, if you're familiar with that, just off of Hamilton, Hanover area. And then most recently in 2021, the city of Easton invited us to come to Easton, and we're not in permanent space there, but we do have a temporary Easton bike shop there. That's been a fantastic experience for us. At the same time, we also teach in schools. This is primarily thanks to the United Way. And we do in-school Earn a Bike and Junior Earn a Bike classes in Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, and that's primarily, again, in community schools. We find over the years that about 90% of students who complete either Earn a Bike or Junior Earn a Bike, I'm sorry, 90% of students who start Earn a Bike or Junior Earn a Bike actually complete their program to earn their bike with us. And as we'll talk about with our supplemental programs, about 30% of students who do Earn a Bike or Junior Earn a Bike at one of our bike shops actually continue with us in our additional mentoring programs. We recently made the most significant changes to our programming plan that we have, certainly in the time that I've been here. But and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but we really wanted to meet students where they were, as we saw the struggles they were facing through the pandemic and some other things going on. So we did change our hours and structure a little bit, and we do offer regular Saturday hours now at this point, to give students more in-depth time with mentors, more time to ride bikes. If you have been on a bike, or if you ride regularly, or if you remember riding when you were a kid, one thing that is so special about bicycles is all of the benefits that come along with riding, with knowing how to fix a bike, with just being part of a group of people who like to ride their bikes. So certainly on the bike mechanic side of things, what started off as STEM, then went to STEAM, and is now STREAM. So science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and math. So a full range of skills as you learn to fix your bikes. As you're spending time with mentors in your Earn a Bike class, you have the life skills. Sense of self is something that we measure students' growth in, and see some pretty important results there. Cycling, of course, supports physical health, it supports mental health, it supports social emotional health as students learn to work together in groups and help each other out, whether that's while they're fixing their bike or on bike rides. We hear students talk a lot about safety. Certainly there's safety on bicycles, but there's also safety from coming to our bike shop, having a safe place to come after school or on the weekends, during the summer, and then freedom. This is probably the number one thing we hear from students, that a bike means freedom. And so again, just a full range of benefits to riding, and knowing how to fix bikes, that we hope to share with students in our Earn a Bike and Junior Earn a Bike programs specifically. All right, this is outside of our East Allentown, our Keck Park location. Some students on the bikes that I think they're just about to earn there. So again, our core programs, Earn a Bike, 12 classes over a month-long period. One of the changes that we made is Earn a Bike programs now run Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So students will come in the entire month of June, the entire month of July, the entire month of August, whatever their month is. Their classes start that first Tuesday of the month. They go Tuesdays through Thursdays for that entire month. Over that time, they have 24 hours with mentors. Again, learning to fix a bike, learning to ride a bike safely. Part of what we do for bike safety is we have a rodeo. So students, practice their skills in, on a paved surface. And we do try to, teach students the rules of the road. Again, how they can ride their bikes safely. We know that most of our students are going to be riding on the streets in Allentown, Easton, Bethlehem, whatever it might be. At the end of their program, again, they earn the bike that they worked on, their refurbished bike, and a brand new helmet. Junior Earn a Bike is very much this, and I should say Earn a Bike is for students, you can start Earn a Bike when you're age 9, and we have students who do Earn a Bike all the way up until they graduate from high school. So a full range of students who we get there. Our average age is around 12, so that middle school time for students. Junior Earn a Bike is for 7 and 8-year-olds. That was just happening at our Madison Street Bike Shop this morning. So the students come in the summers. Our students come in a little bit earlier before the bigger kids get to the bike shop. So they have a 10 to 12 class here during the summers. Junior Earn a Bike is a pared down version of Earn a Bike. So, 7 and 8-year-olds aren't quite up for the wrenching and all of the detail work that the older students do, but they do learn how to ride their bike. They learn the basics of fixing your bike. And we really worked to create a social emotional learning foundation for students with the idea that, just as you have tools and to work on your bike, and you can learn how to use those tools to make your bike go better, we also can help you by teaching you tools that you can learn for your own social and emotional health, and that can help you feel better and be better prepared for life. So that's Junior Earn a Bike. And then cycling, we have broadly 2 tracks for cycling. So we, out of all 3 of our locations, we do recreational rides all the time, nearly every day in the summer. We take kids out on local trails. Either we ride to those trails or we load up one of our vehicles and take kids there. Just really have fun, get outside, know that riding for joy, for, just for fun is something that you can do here in the Lehigh Valley or anywhere you go now and as you get older. But then for our older teen students, we, over the past few years, have really focused on creating more specialized programs, in some cases competitive programs, but we have such a strong cycling culture here in the Lehigh Valley. Our students are part of, we have NICA, of the local mountain bike racing team. So we have mountain bike competitive opportunities. We do track cycling introduction at the velodrome, and we do some road riding. That kind of went on hold during the pandemic, but we ride with the Lehigh Wheelman Association. So those are our bike mentoring programs. Okay, so when we look at does what we do matter? We have certainly believed that over time, especially bike mentoring really does matter for students. As I mentioned, we ask students what they gain from their time with us. And we ask them questions related in a few categories, but related to life skills. So teamwork, working well, with others, communication, those types of things, sense of self and self-confidence, and knowing that they are able to do things like fix a bike or ride a bike, and then also recreation. So we know that students aren't necessarily as physically active as they could be, and that has a range of benefits. So we ask students about that as well. Overwhelmingly, every semester when we ask students, what did they learn from being in Earn a Bike, the number one thing we hear from students is that Earn a Bike has helped them to learn that they could do things they didn't think they could do before. And I think that's just really powerful, and it's something that translates. Certainly, working on bikes, you're not going to learn how to fix your brakes the first time you try it. You're going to try again. You're going to work with your teammates, with your adult mentors. You'll probably figure it out towards the end of the class, or whether that's fixing brakes or riding, or adjusting your seat even. And so again, 97% of students completing Earn a Bike say they learned that they could do things they didn't think they could do before. And our hope and what we see is that really does translate outside of Earn a Bike also. So whether that carries over to their home life, to their school life, we really think that that's a life lesson that tends to stick with kids. And why are all of these things important? There is a teen mental health crisis, and we've certainly personally seen this, especially since the start of the pandemic, since the racial justice uprisings starting in 2020. Kids are under a lot of stress, teens are under a lot of stress, and that is showing. And so you can see here all of the kind of the national forces that have tried to call attention to the teen mental health crisis. People are, the pediatricians are seeing it, schools are seeing it. And most recently, there was a 2023 February CDC report finding that teen mental health is at crisis levels. And they specifically talk about, when they're talking about, how do we help kids through these mental health crisis levels, it's strong family ties, it's strong school ties, and it's strong community ties. And that's really where Community Bike Works can come in. We can help students have a sense of themselves. We can help them know that they have a safe place in their community where they are welcome. So, again, what we are doing, we've always thought it was important. We really are seeing over the past couple of years that kids, especially teenagers, especially boys, need that additional support. I will say here that about 2/3 of our students are boys. And again, they often don't have quite as strong connections. There's there's often a lack of male mentors. Most of our Earn a Bike mentors are volunteers, are men. So that's something that we find helpful, and that sets us apart from some other mentoring organizations. But our girls are also really important, and girls also are experiencing their own version of a mental health crisis. We were recently able to reinstate our Girls Earn a Bike program, which is entirely for girls, entirely taught by female mechanics, and just finding real value in that these days. Okay, so this is a picture of 3 siblings who live just around the corner from Community Bike Works. They recently came to the United States and to Allentown from their native Sudan. They live with their 9 siblings, again, in our Franklin Park neighborhood here. And we talked to them recently about the reasons that they come to Community Bike Works. Ichlis, who is 8 years old, this is what she said to us. She said, "I got to see new people and do new things and learn more about bikes. We learned the ABCs for how to stay safe, so your bike doesn't break and you get hurt. I feel like I'm a safer rider since I did Earn a Bike." So there's the bike piece of it and the bike safety. But then she goes on to say, riding my bike makes me feel calm. It's mindfulness. and you can get exercise so you get strong. So really these range of reasons for coming to earn a bike: mental health, physical health, and at the end of the day, a safe place where they can go and spend time. So as I mentioned, when students join us in Earn a Bike, we encourage them to participate in some of our other programs. One of those is drop-in. Kids can just come. They don't have to sign up to any of our 3 bike shops in the afternoons for extended hours on Mondays and Fridays, when we don't when we no longer have Earn a Bike classes going on. And there's always 2 options for joining us in drop-in. There's always bike, either rides or bike work to do, and then we also have supplemental activities at the same time. So you can see here, going out in nature, just, having speakers come in, going on field trips, just a whole range of different things that students like to do with us. We also, back in 2018, decided that there was really a need for us to, find ways to better support some students who, who rely on us as their main point of contact in the community. There's, maybe a dozen or more kids who at each of our 3 bike shops who are our Bike Works kids. They're there, they're at Bike Works from the time we open to the time we close, from the time they're 9 years old until they graduate from high school, and in some cases beyond. So for those students in particular, for other students who need extra support, we do try to engage them with staff or outside volunteers for one-on-one mentoring, either with academic support, social emotional support, and we do help families with basic needs also. So whether that's shoes for kids to clothing to we've got families with rent, if that's a need. So all of those things as well. These are some of our Easton students. And Ralph, who's 15 and an Easton student, he's been very open about, some of the challenges that he's had fitting in, whether that was school or other places. And so, he really exemplifies, kids do earn a bike, but then they keep coming back to us, again, for this range of reasons. Ralph says, I like coming here after school, being here with everyone, doing all the fun stuff we do. I like spending time with the wonderful people here. I learned how to work on bikes, learned all the tool names. I got to use the screwdrivers. I really like riding bikes, working on bikes, playing games, just being here with nice and great people. I'm a positive influence on younger kids. I think that's such a key point. I feel happiness when I talk about Bike Works. So that is Ralph. You can see this is Vanity. She is not using a bike at all, but doing a project at the Allentown Art Museum. And so once students are involved in Earn a Bike, once they're 12 or in some cases 14 and older, we encourage them to get involved in our leadership programs. So youth leadership is a program that has 3 semesters a year. So pretty much year round. In the fall, we always focus on college and careers. In the spring, we do some sort of community engagement work. And the summer started off as a book club that morphed a little bit more broadly. Vanity was part of a documentary project. So students a couple of years ago made their own documentaries telling their stories about their own lives. That were shown at a local and also at a Philadelphia film festival, which is great. As part of youth leadership, students have worked with the city of Allentown on Vision 2030. During college and career sessions, we go on field trips to colleges, to local places of employment where students might want to work, just really helping students, again, grow into themselves and as members of the community. Once students are 14 and older, they can apply for paid positions at Community Bike Works. Edwin, who I mentioned, who can't be with us today, is a paid youth apprentice. And we actually have other students who had been youth apprentices up until recently. We have 2 18-year-olds who, as of a couple of months ago, each came onto our staff full time. one to be our youth projects coordinator. So Avery is actually running our youth leadership programs this semester in his new role. And then Omar, who we'll hear his story in a few moments, he works in our pantry and also teaches some classes for us. One of the most exciting things that we did in the past few years, during the entire calendar year of 2022, our board and staff and one student spent time revising our bylaws, really building those from the ground up. We wanted to make sure that we were an equity organization, that that we had a better focus on equity, that we had a better focus on working with our students. And so, instead of having a board, staff, students type of model, really just working to make sure that there was more engagement and partnership at all of those levels. One of the exciting things that came out of that rewriting of our bylaws is a new Youth Advisory Council. So we have 5 teens who were elected last August to be our first members of our Youth Advisory Council. And they've been spending the year learning about how nonprofits work. And so they have 2 goals. The first is the 2 directives. The first is to, before any board meeting, they get a briefing from me and a board member on what decisions the board will be considering. We spend a lot of time talking them through those decisions, hear their feedback, and then take that feedback to the board. And then they also have the opportunity to develop youth directed projects. So again, very new, but that's been really exciting for us. This is Layla, one of our inaugural Youth Advisory Council members. She's based out of Easton. And just really, I'll focus on her first quote, the first part of her quote here. Youth Advisory Council is a board of elected teens who will voice the opinions of all students to our board of directors. In August, I was elected to serve on the Youth Advisory Council, and since then, I've formed a close bond with my peers as we attempt to bring change for the greater good. So really, again, giving the students that additional role in their organization. One thing that has also been very new for us this past year is the East Side Food Pantry as Community Bike Works, as we have newly named it. So it has its own logo, but it is truly, it is a project of Community Bike Works. It is a part of our organization. As I mentioned, in East Allentown, we are at the Keck Park. It's a City of Allentown owned building, so the Keck Park old pool building. Since 2016, our Earn a Bike and other bike youth programs have been in one half of the building, and the other half was a small food pantry that was run by an organization that had been facing some troubles in recent years. Around late spring of last year, the City of Allentown and Second Harvest came to us, said that organization was no longer going to be able to run the food pantry because it was already co-located with our projects. The city asked, and Second Harvest asked if we would take on running the food pantry. It fits with their models, the Second Harvest priorities of finding of having fewer standalone food pantries and more food pantries where that are run by organizations that people already have a familiarity with, already have that trust with. So and you can see this was like within our first couple of weeks of having the pantry, but it shows you this is already an expansion from the previous pantry, which had been in a smaller room. This is now the main room of the food pantry. It has all kinds of shelving and everything now, but this is a 10 by 20 area. And then we have 3 other rooms that we give food out of, plus additional rooms for storage. And this room is set up as a choice pantry model, so people get to do their own shopping in here. Just wanted to give you that sense of things. We did, our board and I and our staff really spent time saying, do we take over this food pantry as we've been asked to? Is it part of what we should be doing? And, as we talked to students and really had some discussions, one of the things that came down to was, well, you can't ride a bike if you're hungry. And so, is it connected to our mission? In a lot of ways, it really is. So we've done a lot to improve the pantry since again, in the 1 year that we've taken over. So we tripled the physical size of the pantry. We stabilized the hours. We added hours. We are open 3 days a week, which is more than any other pantry in East Allentown. We've significantly increased the amount of fresh produce that we have, culturally appropriate food. We can also connect people to resources. One of the rooms that we have is a book room. So if families come with their little kids, their kids can pick out some books, read books while they're waiting, take them home with them. These changes have paid off. When we took over the pantry, the previous organization was serving about 50 families per month. We now do close to that in 1 day, certainly in 2 days. And we are now regularly serving more than 300 families each month. So a six-fold increase this past month. May that just finished, we had 348 families come. In our very first year, we served 12,100 individuals. So adults, seniors, children. 12 just over 12,000 individuals in our first year of the pantry. So, really a lot of community need. It's important for us to run, what we expect will be and want to be a model food pantry for the East Allentown community, but also for the Lehigh Valley as a whole. But we also want to make sure that we are doing it in a way that integrates well with our youth programs. And so we've put a lot of thought and effort into how does that work? What makes sense for us as a youth bike organization to run a food pantry. So it has expanded. We've always served lunches and snacks to our students, and this is expanded our ability to do that. We've always had, as you can see on that last picture, we've always since we've moved to East Allentown, we've had a little garden there. We just grew that to, I think, 18 beds total. So students are helping in the garden, and that food is now going both to lunches and snacks for students, but also right to the pantry. And one of the things that I think is really cool is that we are able, we have to hire people anyway. We can hire our teens to work at the pantry, and they, can learn again that whole range of life skills from having this as their job. This is just a few more scenes from the pantry, and this is smiling Omar, one of our 18-year-old students. Omar has been at Bikeworks probably since he was 9, maybe 10 years old. Almost all of his siblings did earn a bike, and Omar recently got hired at the pantry. He's been a youth apprentice for a while, but again, he now works full-time at the pantry for us. And this is his quote. From Earn a Bike, I wanted to branch out and try doing different things to help my community. I help at the Bikeworks Food Pantry. It's not like I didn't know before, but there really are people who have trouble finding their next meal. This is some of the fresh fruit that we're able to offer and produce. And then Omar continues, I feel like I'm helping out by organizing the pantry or just talking to clients. I hope that the things I do at Bikeworks will cause an impact in our community and inspire others to do the same. So that's wonderful, Omar, and his work at the pantry.
Question, Kim.
Yeah.
Does Second Harvest give you any funding to run this thing?
That's a good question. Second Harvest has been very generous with advice, and they've connected us to new freezers, to shelving, to helping us in the garden, and things like that. Most of the food that we get at the pantry at this point is free. What we do not get funding for from Second Harvest, and none of that's not the pantry model, is for staffing the pantry and for utilities. So, as we'll talk about as we wrap up, it is expensive, and in some ways a little more expensive than I think we anticipated to run a pantry. You know, even though we have, you know, brand new freezers and coolers, thanks to Second Harvest, um, you know, that are much more energy efficient than what used to be there. We have so many more of them now that our utility costs are upwards of $10,000 a year. Um, and again, that's just at one of our locations now, you know, where we do have the pantry. And then, you know, again, Second Harvest is moving away from a model where pantries are run entirely by volunteers, you know, out of maybe a church basement or something like that. They really are looking to nonprofits to be able to professionalize the nonprofits, and that does mean staff. So at this point, you know, we have Omar as a part-time staff member, and then we have Hannah, one of our staff members who runs the pantry. You know, she manages the pantry, and that's about you know, a 20 to a 30 hour a week job for her. And then in her other time, she's also a bike mechanic who helps us, you know, teach our girls classes and do some other work with us. So the the answer to your question is they provide us lots of support, in many ways, primarily food, but we are responsible for raising operating costs on our own. So just, you know, what is new? To end, some of you may have seen the headlines that Community Bike Works is, you know, getting $1 million through Congresswoman Wild. So to bring you up to speed on that, we were very thrilled to be chosen by Congressman Wild to receive capital funding. So this is not funding at all that we can use for our programs, but capital funding to renovate both our downtown Allentown, our Franklin Park Allentown, and our Easton bike shops. We've just been bursting at the seams, overflowing for years and years at our Franklin Park hub. And so we have the opportunity now to purchase a building and renovate that. It will be closer to Franklin Park, will be more connected to Franklin Park, like we are in some ways in Keck Park. And we work very closely with the city of Allentown, excuse me. So that'll be really exciting. Our students are helping us think about what they would like to see in their new bike shop. And then in Easton, the building that we'll be moving into is on Spruce Street in the West Ward. We do not own that. That is owned by GEDP, the Greater Easton Development Partnership. And we're working together to, you know, use some of this funding to renovate that Easton hub. This is taking longer than we thought it would. I hope to have some answers shortly on when exactly we'll be able to move forward. But we're very much looking forward to the time where we do have, you know, again, safe and welcoming spaces that really, you know, allow us to do with our students what we need to do. And again, just to stress, you know, this is not funding that is supporting our programs, you know, or you know, we are still working on building our operating budget out. These are for capital projects only. The other thing that is new and will become public in just a few days is that so I'll start with a 30-second backstory. In the spring of 2022, we sent 3 of our young people to the Youth Bike Summit, the National Youth Bike Summit, which was being held in Atlanta of that year. You can see them here in front of a Representative Lewis mural. They went down to the Youth Bike Summit to, again, learn from other bike mentoring organizations around the country and go on rides and grow as leaders. They were such leaders when they were down in Atlanta that our news is that Community Bike Works has been chosen to host the next National Youth Bike Summit, which will be held here in Allentown in the Lehigh Valley in June of 2024. So from June 14th to the 16th, we will be welcoming about 400 young people to Allentown, and we will have 3 days of rides and speakers and smaller workshops. we're really looking forward to it. It's the main project that our Youth Advisory Council students are working on. So we're really looking to put forward a youth-led event. And we're just really thrilled for what this means for us as an organization, for our students, and for the Lehigh Valley as a whole. So we're really excited for that opportunity. So ways to get involved. Certainly, we always can accept any bike in any donation in any condition. If you'd like to donate a bike for our Earn a Bike or other programs, if you have bikes. It doesn't matter if you bought them last year or 20 years ago. If they're in your basement, your garage, they're taking up space. We can put it to use. Either it'll get earned by a student, or students will strip it down and we'll take the usable parts off it that we can. Students can also learn by taking a bike apart just as well as they can from putting it together. Mentor a student. We're always looking for folks to volunteer in our Earn a Bike program. You don't have to know bike mechanics to be a part of that. It really is about working with kids, learning together. You can also we are looking for additional one-on-one mentors to help students with academic tutoring or some other skills that they might need. We are looking for volunteers for the pantries at our pantry. Our organizational budget, our operating budget for this coming year that starts on July 1st that we just adopted is $1.5 million. When I got to BikeWorks again in 2012, we were about a $250,000 a year organization. So again, thanks to the Lehigh Valley Community Foundation, supporters, just the community in general, we have grown a lot. In those past years. We have ambitious and audacious goals to support our mission, and the community has been very wonderful in helping us to meet that. As I mentioned, the pantry is a very new project for us. We know that the food need is out there. We know that we can do this well. We know that it can be a benefit for our students, their families, the community as a whole. We are specifically looking to raise funding for the pantry. We have an $85,000 a year budget for the pantry, and we have about $35,000 in ongoing annual funds that have been committed to that project. So if that is something that interests you, we're certainly looking for partners on that. So I will end with one thing I should say also is, the Community Foundation has been a fantastic partner to us, all the ways that all of you and the Community Foundation staff have worked with us. We're very happy at this point right now to be part of the CORE, the racial equity project that is going on. So Hannah Cannon, who I mentioned, who runs our food pantry, is our staff representative to the CORE project. She's really been diving in and bringing back a lot to our organization. And she works with our board chair, Dolores Singletary, on that project. So we're very thankful to the Community Foundation for allowing us to participate in that. So again, Edwin, he just turned 16 this week. He couldn't be with us today. He's been at BikeWorks for about 5 years. He's done Earn a Bike. He's done all the cycling programs, the mentoring programs, the youth leadership, and he was elected to Youth Advisory Council last year. So he's one of our first 5 students on the council. Since the pandemic, especially, school has been a real source of stress for Edwin, and that's why he's in summer school right now, and couldn't be with us. But he really made strides this year in his academics. And the quote that he shared with me was that, to close us out, is at the start of the school year, I wasn't doing really well. But I brought that up to the BikeWorks team and they helped me with study skills. If I have something that I want to do or a decision I need to make, I feel like I can talk to the team and they'll give me feedback. I also feel I have less anxiety because I come to BikeWorks. When I started on Youth Advisory Council, I didn't talk much, and I can attest to that. As I've been feeling more comfortable, I've been sharing my thoughts more. I can also attest to that. I'm less nervous to talk to people or even to teach an Earn a Bike class. So those are some of the ways that Edwin has grown as he's been with us over the past 5 years. And that concludes my presentation.